Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Caccera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Caccera.
Welcome in, Joe Caccera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. As we move along through the week, I'm sitting alongside Mike D'Ambrosio. Good to have you back here, Mike.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Always good to have a weekly update and just talk a little bit about the market and any other things that are really going on. We have a great topic today, I think, only because it's affecting thousands of people every single day in the Bay Area. So we will jump into that right when we get done with little introductions here. Just a reminder, if you need any assistance in buying a home, selling a home, that's going to be part of our topic today, some of the challenges around that. Be sure to contact Mike. You could do that a couple different ways at phone or text to 408-630-0101, or you could also visit his website, MikeDsells.com, and he could help you again with any of that challenges, certainly the challenges of buying these days. If you're a seller, good for you. I'd say the big hooray, huh? If you're a seller, it's a good time to be a seller. What do they call it? Seller is king right now.
Listings king. Selling's king. That's
the poor buyers are getting beat up. So we're going to talk about that. It's going to be our topic today. So the topic is really about, either just creating winning strategies. What are the winning strategies? I'm going to talk to Mike about that since he's the expert. We're going to dive deep into the winning strategies of getting your offer accepted. And that may sound easy on the surface, but there's a lot to it. The reason we're going to talk about this today is because we're in the middle of the market all the time. A week doesn't go by when I get at least a handful of people that miss out on offers. Mike sees it all on a regular basis as well. And there's all kinds of reasons why. So before we dive in and talk about that, Mike, maybe a quick update on the market that's driving this chaos.
Inventory's low. Next question.
We're going to get to the point here.
That's it.
It's the economics 101, right? Supply and demand.
I was having this conversation with an agent in our office. We went out to lunch today, and he does commercial and residential, similar to me. I do some commercial as well, and we were talking. It's in all segments of the market. You know, it's not just residential. It's not just single-family residential. It's single-family. It's condos, townhouses. It's commercial leasing. It's commercial and it's industrial. There is land. There's a lot of land, but more on the outlying parts of the county, so people don't really care as much about those. But so there's just a lack of inventory everywhere. Yeah, and because of that, what's happening? And if you're listening to this podcast and you're living this every day, you're probably going, "Oh my God!" And I hope you could take something away from this podcast. If you are living this every day and you've maybe lost out on several offers, hopefully we could help you in that situation. Or more importantly, if you're out there and you're thinking about listing your home soon or buying a home soon, hopefully this will help you. So we're going to talk today about some of the strategies around getting your offer accepted, but more importantly, what are the things that, number one, and I think there's probably three, I would say, Mike, what do you think? Maybe three components we'll talk about today. One would be the agent representing you on the buy side. What kind of strategies do you communicate and maybe the relationship with the listing agent? And then, of course, the third one is in the lending. Where are you getting your money? What's the strategy with that? Can you close on time? Can you meet the commitments? All that. I would say, is there any other? Those are kind of the three dynamics that go into it. Yeah, I think so.
Components, I should say.
Major components. Well, I think the buyer's got to be motivated as well. And responsive and interactive, and can't just fall off the deep end when you're in the middle of a hot negotiation, right? So,
well, if we take it right from the beginning, let's just take it. When you're meeting, and I know how you operate, but when you're meeting with someone, I'm not just going to assume. I know you do this, but my guess is setting expectations right out of the gate, right? in a market like this? Kind of take me through what, if someone's interviewing agents right now, Mike, what should they be saying to a potential buyer right now in today's market? How would that go?
I would say it's not going to be an easy process.
Yeah, but honest.
Yeah, I'm very honest and say, hey, look, this is not going to be easy. We'll make it happen, but don't expect this to be a walk in the park. Yeah. And I tell them that so that they get tough skin in the beginning, and I'm going to make it. I'm going to get them a place, and I'm going to make it happen for them. But they got to understand that it's not just going to be like it was 8 years ago, where you could buy whatever the heck you wanted. So I'd say and make sure you're talking about when you first meet with a realtor, they're walking you through this process of buying a home in California or wherever you're listening to this podcast, whatever state. Buying a home, what's the process? How does that agent work? What is the deal with their company? Who do they work for? What does the offer process entail, and how do they put an offer package together that's going to be appealing to the listing agent and the sellers? And then talking about the market, how's their market knowledge? And how do they know, when you go into an offer situation or you're planning on buying a home, and let's say you're pre-approved for $800,000, and you want the world, and you want to buy an Atherton for $800,000, is your agent knowledgeable enough to tell you that not in God's name are you going to be able to buy something in Atherton for $800,000? So I guess my point to that is what's their market knowledge of the areas you're looking in, and do they know people there, and do they know what's going on, and all of that stuff. So it kind of plays a whole part.
So I'm going to follow up with that right now, and I get a little bit of maybe not so much role playing, but and I hope the people are listening to this. So if you're a potential buyer out there listening to this, and let's say you interview an agent, you sit down with an agent, if you say, I want to buy a home, and this is my budget, let's just say it's $1 million.
Yeah,
that's the going rate these days in the Bay Area. And the agent's response is something like this: "Oh, no problem. We'll get it done for you right away. It's going to be easy."
Yeah.
So that would be a red flag. Then.
I think that's a red flag. I mean, I obviously saying all this to say I want to make it as easy as possible for them. Right. But I think that'd be a red flag if your expectations are extremely unlikely, and they don't sugarcoat it for you and don't tell you the truth. I think that's a problem because they're looking probably just to pick up a client and not really to pick up a client that they can help and actually get them a property. So
So now the client's decided to work with you, and now you're showing listings, of course, and you get the MLS. I know that you have the technology set up where I'm guessing you create the profile, and then you and the clients both get automatic updates when they come on the market and those things.
Yeah, between that and then starting to look within the my company in the office for off market stuff or properties that are coming up. There's also other websites that only top producing agents are a part of that you can see other off-market things that are going on. So there's all sorts of resources to start looking on their behalf outside of the MLS. And frankly, most buyers can get the MLS information through all sorts of different websites. But I would say that the realtors are still going to have the most up-to-date and pre-market up-to-date stuff possible that you're not going to find on those lovely internet websites that we talked so highly about. So
yeah, and be careful with some of that, how it's advertised too. That's the other thing you got to be careful about.
Yep.
So then you find, let's say you find one or two places. Let's just say one place that the client likes, where you both think this might be a good potential. So then obviously you sit down, or you get on the phone and you start kind of developing the strategy, how the offer is going to go. Take us through that, how that should work.
Yeah, I would say, just taking a step back real quick, it's different nowadays that when I first started selling real estate, I could go show 10 or 20 houses to a buyer in a week, in a day, which is frankly is miserable because after like the fifth house, you forget what the other ones look like. Anyways, I don't recommend going and seeing more than half a dozen houses in a day. Just word to the wise out there listening. But nowadays, there's not enough for especially if you're working with a couple, there's not enough for the two people to even agree on to go look at 6 houses that they both like, right? So, I play it more on a one-off situation now. Like I tell when I first meet buyers, if there's a property that you like, let's set up a time, go check it out as soon as we can, or we go to the open house together, or you guys go on my behalf and then we talk about it. So I just wanted to backtrack on that really quick. But getting to the offer situation, so really then what happens is let's say they like the property I usually reach out to the listing agent, ask them a bunch of questions about what the seller's looking for, how do I structure the offer, where are the disclosures and reports, et cetera, and just kind of establish a rapport with them. Unless I already have one, and I know a lot of other real estate agents, it's super important to be working with an agent that's pretty well connected, or within a company that has a lot of agents that they know or know, it's important that not only is through this whole process are you as the buyer important and your pre-approval and your qualifications, but to be honest with you, it's also very important that the agent you're working with is competent and knows other agents, because it's a relationship business. Right. And oftentimes I've gotten deals done just on my relationship with the agent, and maybe my client's offer wasn't the best.
Right.
Because maybe the best offer was with an agent that's kind of a nutcase or just not very good, you know? So that is an important factor, and I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying that because you need to be aware that it's not always just about the buyer. Right. It's about the whole package, basically. Yeah. It's about the lender too. Yeah. If they're working with some asinine lender from SoCal that is not even, you know what I mean? Or they're working from, and I know you can do a whole show on the internet lending and all that stuff and those. So it's a whole package, and so, I think I went off track there, but basically getting back to that. So you do all that background research and then you got to look at all the disclosures, and then your agent should be running a full analysis on the value of the property. And also it's not always just about the analysis of the value. It's more about, okay, maybe the value really is $1 million, but it's going to go for more than that because there's 10 other buyers on there. So then you have to figure out what's going to be the strategy for the competitive offer situation. Right. You got to figure that out, and you get guidance from your agent on that. So that's kind of leading up to the actual offer.
Yeah, that's crazy. Especially there's so much that goes into it. We're going to take a quick break and want to come back. Then we're going to dive into you getting ready to put the offer in. What types of things we're going to talk about? What types of things do you do? How do you stage it? How do you prepare them? You had discussed, Mike, a little bit about the potential of multiple offers and what that might do to the value. So we're going to continue talking about that. This is Joe Kuchera alongside Mike D'Ambrosio. We're talking today about the winning strategies, how to get your offer accepted. We'll be back with you in just a minute.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Hi, this is Joe Kuchera of Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We are your go-to resource for all aspects of real estate, including buying, selling, refinancing, building, and legal and tax advice, and much more. You can subscribe to Real Estate Radio Live podcast on iTunes and Stitcher to listen to an engaging discussion about anything and everything real estate. So make sure you get our app, RE Radio Live, in the iTunes store to follow the show.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series, sitting alongside Mike D'Ambrosio. We're having a conversation today about the strategies of getting your offer accepted, the winning strategies. It is a tough market in the real estate market right now in the Silicon Valley, and I know that it actually, Mike explained, it exists all over the place, really. I mean, you talk to people in different counties and areas, and they're living through a lot of the same. Obviously, we live in the Silicon Valley. We know how strong this business environment is, Mike, why everybody wants to be here. It's well documented. 70 to 80% of the venture capital comes from this area. There's growth. Yeah. There's all this exciting stuff, but then there's a challenging side about the case is low inventory, supply and demand. So you're working with a buyer now, trying to get their offer accepted. I would say that if we go through the categories, let's talk a little bit about maybe the financing now, and you're getting ready to submit the offer, because my guess is your offer would be looked at a little bit different if someone's put in 50% down or 80% down. I just had a client do that in Monterey, and it wasn't even that competitive an offer, and I'm going, what? Why are you putting 80% down?
Yeah.
And he goes, we just have a budget and we want a certain payment. And,
wow.
Interesting. But in this case, preparing again for the offer, let's say now you're sitting down preparing to make the offer. You call the listing agent, you're discussing all the details around it.
Mm-hmm.
You know there's going to be multiple offers.
Mm-hmm.
So take us through. Let's say that these people are making it's $1 million they've been approved to, and let's say the offer's coming in at $950 or just under $1 million, but you think, based on talking to the agent in the market, that it's going to be multiple offers could go over. Mm-hmm. It's a good chance it's going to go over. These people are putting 20% down, which in most worlds would be wonderful.
Yeah, it would.
Right? But still, they're up against some competitive offers. So tell us how that conversation may go, Mike, as you're sitting with them preparing to draft the offer, and then you and I could talk a little bit about our strategies. We talk a lot before that offer goes in. Maybe let's take the people that are listening kind of through that process and what they may expect.
Yeah, I would say so. As from a offer price standpoint, that's always a tough conversation with, especially if it's going to be competitive. And they always ask me, well, what do you think it's going to go for? And I'm like, oh my God, no. But basically, I can't tell you one way. I couldn't tell them. I can never tell someone an exact answer because I don't know what a bunch of buyers are going to do. What I can say is, one is give it your best shot off the bat. If it's a competitive situation, don't dilly-dally around and try to get a deal or try to whatever, because ultimately if you lose this thing for 10 or 20 or 30 grand, you're going to be kicking yourself down the road, because really that amortized over 30 years is peanuts.
Right.
And for you to get this based on that or not get it, you're going to be kicking yourself in the butt later. So that's the first thing. So go in, give it your best shot. So, and then the second thing is, well, what is the number? I mean, really, there's got to be two prices in your head. One is the price you're willing to pay for the property, and the second one is the price you're willing to walk away from the property and feel okay about it.
Okay.
So there's that walk away price that you got to figure out. So if the property is listed at $1 million, there's going to be 5 offers. Is that walk away price $1,080,000 or something like that?
Okay.
If that's the case, I'd probably go in somewhere around or near that. Then the third thing is, then you analyze how many other offers are based on the information that the listing agent gave your agent, and hopefully that information is accurate or truthful. Right. Most of the time it is, but sometimes they could be fluffing the numbers. Yeah. But sometimes you can tell how many offers someone's going to get based on the amount of disclosure packages that they've given out. Right. So let's say 20 or 15 or 20 disclosure packages are given out. If we were talking a couple years ago, you usually could figure about 50% of those are going to come in with an offer. So if you got 15 disclosure package requests, you could guess that person's probably going to get 7 or 8 disclosure packages offers. I'm sorry. Now it's like a little bit less than that. I think people are getting more gun shy. So if you got 15 disclosure packages out, you guess they're probably going to get 3 to 5 offers or something like that, roughly.
All right.
Now, as far as, then people ask me, well, if there's this many offers, how much percentage do you think it's going to go over? And that's really hard to tell. Right. I mean, maybe it's 1 or 2% per offer, so that's what, 1% of $1 million's $10,000. Yeah. So, if they get 5 offers, you're guessing that thing's at least going to go $50K plus over the list price.
Yeah,
roughly.
That's a good point.
I mean, it's not a perfect math science, but it's a rough thing. So
very good. You and I talk a lot about this, and I was going to ask you too. One of the things we do is when you're getting ready to put in the offer, you'll put the offer in, and you'll tell me, "Hey Joe, I'm putting it at 2:00. Anytime after 2, call the agent." Yeah, and then I put in a good word on behalf of the buyers and do what I do. How many people? I mean, again, these little things add up and probably count towards the end. I've seen them make a difference sometimes.
Does. Yeah. Joe sweet talks them.
That's right. We could close.
We put in the good. I think that the lender, obviously to all of this, the financing is the most important part. It always is. It always will be. Where's the money coming from?
Exactly.
And so the fact that they get a call from you, the listing agent, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy as a listing agent when I get a call from a lender that's calling on behalf of their clients and really pushing for them and telling me how great they are and how their credit scores are good. They got this much cash. Their ratios look good. It's a really smooth loan, blah, blah, blah. And then also telling me that they're going to be able to perform in their timelines as a lender too is very important, because you got to answer to your people. So I think that whole part of it's really important as well. And again, the financing is the basis of all of this.
It really is.
Because really, a lot of the real estate work is really all done up front nowadays. All the disclosures are up front, reports, inspections. You look at all that really before you even make an offer now, whereas if we were talking 5 to 7 years ago, it was kind of like when you got into contract.
Right.
So really, in the escrow period, a lot of the heavy lifting is the lending side.
Yeah, good point.
So that's really the unknown that, as a lender, you need to make the listing agent feel warm and fuzzy about, so then that listing agent can make their sellers feel warm and fuzzy about it.
Yeah. So you have the lending, of course, is a big deal. Calling the listing agent, making sure, hopefully get them comfortable if they were to accept the offer, if it's somewhere close. I want to ask you now a little bit about, now once the offers are in, they're going to give it their best shot. Everybody kind of, and quite frankly, some of it is what you could afford, right? Yeah. I mean, if someone's max is 1.1, you none of us can say, hey, let's give this a try and go higher. Well, no, I mean, that's not the right thing to do. So all the offers are in, and then the listing agent is reviewing those offers. What happens? I asked you a little bit. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. I mean, obviously the no-brainer is, hey, look at the offers, whoever is offering the most. But tell us a little bit about why, that may be as simple as that, but other times maybe it's not. Maybe there's someone's offering a little bit more, but maybe an offer's $20,000 less, but it's all cash. Tell us a little bit about how that works. Yeah,
I mean, really that whole conversation is usually based around the out clauses in a contract. And what I mean by out clauses is that's the layman term for contingencies that someone has in the contract. And there's 3 major contingencies in a contract typically. There's other ones, but the 3 main ones are investigation, which is doing more due diligence on the property, more inspections or whatever. Loan, which is getting the formal approval from the underwriter. And then the appraisal contingency, which is the big one nowadays that most people don't want to see, because basically what the appraisal contingency does is it's the bank sends out an appraiser and they value the property and they're only going to lend up to that amount. Well, a seller doesn't want to see an appraisal contingency, because in a competitive market, if there is an appraisal contingency on a buyer's contract and the appraisal comes in low, the buyer has the ability to either back out of the contract and get their deposit back because of that, or try to renegotiate the price. If they write the offer without the appraisal contingency, then they're basically saying, I'm paying for this property no matter what the appraisal comes in at, and I got the cash to do it. So anyways, getting back to your original question, that's just some background on it. But basically, I just went through this with one of my good buddies. I'm helping buy a house, and basically there's 11 offers on this property, and he was an FHA buyer, and we were number 2 out of 11. We came in at the very end. We got to the almost very end. And the reason they went with the other one, and we were a higher offer, but FHA and we didn't even do an appraisal contingency. Wow. But the other one, here's the thing about FHA is the property was in bad shape, and they were worried about the appraiser calling it out. So the other offer was a little bit lower with no contingencies at all. It didn't have any investigation, any loan, any appraisal. So the seller's like, I'm willing to take that less, amount just to have no headaches about I know that deal's going to close. Right. Whereas with us, it's like, there's some out clauses there that they have to be worried about. So then they had to weigh, well, is it worth the risk of going with my buyer and waiting it out and seeing if this whole thing goes through, or just making sure it's a done deal and taking a little bit less money and moving on with their life. So that's an example of what happens. It's really based around the out clauses in a contract and whether a seller is willing to take the risk with some out clauses for a higher price, or they just want the deal to be done and take a little bit less and just and be done with it. So,
well, we're almost wrapping up here, but the one thing I want to kind of summarize with, and I'd like to get your opinion too, Mike, as we close out today is, I've been doing this a long time, so have you. The one thing that I'll keep coming back to and that I'll swear by day in and day out is make sure you hire the best people to have your best chance to succeed. Yeah. I don't care. Seriously, I don't care if it's your brother or your aunt could give you $10,000 back or whatever the number is. I'm telling you, don't do it, because what's going to happen in a market like this is even with the best people helping you, it's going to be challenging sometimes at best.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And what makes me, I don't know about sad's the right word, but disappointing sometimes is when I'm watching clients and I'm working with financing, and I just know, and I don't, it's a kind of a tough gap to bridge. I know that maybe the people helping them, I'm not sure that just because of the way they operate, some of the realtors, I'm not sure that they're putting their best foot forward or if they know what they're doing sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I see them miss out on offers. Now, I don't know if they would have anyway, right? That's just anybody's guess. But my point here, as I close out, and I'll let you tell me what you think. I mean, what is kind of the most important thing you would tell people out there listening to this podcast right now? Make sure you do what before you get ready to put an offer on a house?
You got a whole nother show already? No, I would just, again, I like working with the professionals. We say that on the show often. And be prepared. Have all your ducks in a row, you know. Don't be piecemealing things together with your lender and not having to, you know, have the pre-approval ready, have your proof of funds ready, have your letter, your seller love letter ready to write to the seller to show them how much you love the house. Be in communication with your agent. Be in communication with your lender. And just be ready to rock and roll at any given moment, because if you're not prepared, you're behind the 8 ball with all the other buyers out there that are more prepared than you. So I would say professional representation and preparation.
Very good. All right, Mike, thanks. Great show.
Thank you.
As usual, thanks again for tuning in. Keep sharing the information. Share it with your friends, coworkers, family members. We love to have the information passed along. For more information, you could always go to reradiolive.com. Until next time, thanks and take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at reradiolive.com.